Okay, so taking a look at Devil's Night, aka Left 4 Dead in this video, but I'm just going to clear up something about the name first of all because it is a source of a bit of confusion. In the US and Canada this film is known as Devil's Night, but elsewhere I think it's called Left 4 Dead. It's certainly listed as Left 4 Dead on the Internet Movie Database, so it's probably more commonly known by that name, at least outside of America and Canada. But as you can see here, the copy that I've got on DVD is called Halloween Left 4 Dead, so more confusion. This is the German copy, it's the only one that I could find, so obviously in Germany it goes by a different name. But incidentally, there is also another film called Devil's Night, which is also a horror film from around about 2012 with Malcolm McDowell in it, which sometimes gets confused with this one. And that film with Malcolm McDowell in itself also gets confused with Mischief Night, so a lot of confusion. But just to clarify here, this is the 2007 Canadian film directed by Christopher Harrison and featuring Danielle Harris that I'm going to be reviewing here. So with that cleared up, let's get into the story for this, and it's very similar to the kind of premise that you'll get in films like I Know What You Did Last Summer. You've got 5 friends belonging to a college fraternity. On their way to a Halloween party, they chase after a young man that they interrupt trying to break into their car. After catching up with the guy, they kind of shove him around a bit and he ends up falling down and hitting his head on a rock. They think he's dead, so they kind of panic and leave him there without reporting the incident. Then the following year, at the next Halloween party for the occasion, Tommy, the most reluctant of the 5 to leave the body the previous year, thinks he sees one of his friends being murdered at an upstairs window of the party house by someone that is wearing a mask that he discarded by accident at the crime scene or the accident scene the year before. They were wearing masks because they were on the way to a party. But as he goes up to the room, he finds no one there, so he thinks maybe he just imagined it, and his friends say that he was just seeing things, or they just dismiss it. But the following day, he actually finds out that the person in question that he saw getting attacked is actually missing, so he thinks maybe there is something going on. He continues to catch kind of fleeting glimpses of this masked figure, and as more kind of frat brothers and local kids and their girlfriends start to disappear, him and his remaining friends come to realise that perhaps he wasn't so paranoid after all and there is something going on. Also, running parallel to this is there's like a separate storyline going on where there's like a dangerous lunatic by the name of Michael Limburger or something like that, who's said to be a mad farmer that chops up his victims and feeds the guts to his pigs. And he's kind of at large in the area. He's kind of escaped from a mental home or something, or perhaps he was never in a mental home, but he was just recently come to the police's attention as being a maniac, and they're now looking for him. So this kind of muddies the waters a bit as well, and gets in kind of takes a bit of screen time up. And as the police search for this madman, this Limburger guy, Tommy's friends question whether or not they could be in fact this Limburger, and that is responsible for their troubles and not in fact the guy they left for dead the previous year. But Tommy's not so sure. So that's the basic story to it. They go into the good points now. And there are frequent nods and winks to other slasher films, older slasher films, that do kind of help make this a nice homage piece to the genre. You've obviously got the obvious I Know What You Did Last Summer reference to the whole storyline being kind of similar to that, which I mentioned earlier. But aside from that, there's also a very strong kind of Halloween vibe running through it. The killer himself is referred to in the credits as the Mask, which is similar to how Mars was called the Shape sometimes in the Halloween franchise. And it's quite reminiscent of Halloween throughout as well, with shots of the killer watching kids in a car and just watching Tommy from afar in a taunting way, similar to what Myers did with Laurie Strode at times. And he also kind of pops up behind victims for us to see just before killing them in a similar way to what Myers has been known to do. On top of that, the final boy, in this case, in place of the final girl, Tommy, that I mentioned before, he probably takes his name from Tommy Doyle from Halloween, so there's a few similarities there. There are some other references as well to other films, like there's a Maniac-inspired shotgun sequence, a heavily Psycho-inspired shower scene kill, and a copy of a double kill that was used in one of the Friday the 13th films. So there's a few little references there that genre fans will be able to pick out. Next good point, I thought the main trio of characters, the 3 frat brothers, Tommy, Clark and Blair, who were kind of the main 3, were all pretty well acted, and the dialogue among them was pretty solid for an independent film. Like I said, we've got a final boy in Tommy as opposed to a final girl, which makes a nice change, I guess. And he was likeable enough, though. Strangely enough, his friend Clark actually seemed to exhibit more traditional final girl kind of traits than he did, because Clark was kind of the one that didn't take drugs or or drink at the party. And he was kind of like the calm voice of reason as things went on. He was kind of like playing peacekeeper a bit if squabbling broke out. So he was kind of more taking on the kind of nice final girl role that we traditionally see from females upon himself, more so than Tommy was, which was a bit weird. But both Clark and Tommy were nice enough characters, we could root for them. Also, I mentioned at the start, Danielle Harris is in this. She plays Tommy's girlfriend Nancy. So, slasher fans always seem to have a soft spot for her, myself probably included. So nice to see her. She does a pretty good job in a fairly limited role, but it's well acted for the parts that she's on screen for. So yeah, it's pretty good in that sense. Final good point then. The killer looks the part, I thought, with the mask chosen being quite effective, and you can kind of see it a little bit on the case there, but it's very dark. You probably can't really make it out. Maybe if I turn it over, you'll be able to see a bit better from some of the pictures there. I don't know if that's any better. Probably not much better, but it's a little bit like the Michael Myers mask with the kind of greenish tint to it and slightly more defined around the lips and eyes. Obviously, it's got, well, you can't really see Mary there, but it's got kind of long, stringy hair that's quite distinctive. Sorry, that's a bit different to the Myers mask, but it is vaguely reminiscent of that. Looks good though. I actually found the mask for sale online, which I was a bit surprised about, seeing that this is such an obscure film. I wouldn't expect to find it for sale, but it's actually out there should you care to purchase it. Okay then, I'm going to move on to the bad points now. And I thought the opening of the film with the accident was not very well done and serves as quite a weak introduction to things. Firstly, we only learn why the guy is actually being chased by the 5 frat brothers about halfway through when Tommy's explaining the incident to his girlfriend. So initially, though, we don't really know why they're chasing him and why this guy's being hunted down by these 5 guys. It seems like they're bullying him kind of thing. We don't really know what's going on. It's a bit confusing. And then when the sort of brawling breaks out, or the kind of shoving match starts, and the guy falls over and hurts his head, we don't even see him actually hit his head, so that's a bit weak. It's all off camera. And it just seemed like a bit poorly done and quite really brief. It's like they should have drawn it out a bit and had a bit more of a punch up going on and more shoving and stuff like that, because it's over way too quick. Blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And it just seems poorly done how they don't really establish the mask very well here, because it's Tommy that's wearing this mask that the killer later wears, and he's supposed to have left it behind at the scene by accident as they run away. But they don't really show it like enough establishing shots of him even wearing the mask for us to connect it with him later. And they certainly don't show like a lingering shot of the body and the mask side by side as the boys run off, so we can see that it's been left there. So it's a bit confusing later on, because I didn't even know that he'd left the mask. So they should have done a better job there. It's a bit confusing the way they present it. But yeah, that's one bad point. But unfortunately, it's not the only confusing thing. Things kind of drag on in a similar confusing sense from there, which we'll go into in the next bad point. So if you can hear some kind of rustling paper, I've got some notes down here that I'm reading from, so that's what that is. But yeah, things continue on in a bit of a confusing vein, because shortly after, at the following year, when we progressed a year later now, and we've got this party where Tommy and his friends are at a new Halloween party. And at this, Tommy witnesses one of his friends getting killed in the upstairs window. But the picture quality is so bad, at least on this German copy. Maybe it's better if you've got the Devil's Night version from Canada. But this version that I've got, the picture quality was so bad that I couldn't even really see the killer, let alone the fact that he was strangling someone. So I wasn't really sure what was going on. I was a bit surprised when he said that he'd seen someone getting strangled, because I couldn't really pick that out. I did watch a trailer on YouTube though, and the quality there was better than the quality on this DVD. So perhaps it's just like I say, the quality of this German disc isn't very good. But on top of this, on the following day from the party, some random character seemingly with little or no connection to the frat brothers show up, and they score it for a short while. And it's really hard to keep track of who's who. There's this guy with long hair, I think he's called Taylor. He was just seen for about 3 or 4 minutes, just walking to college with his girlfriend. I assume it's his girlfriend. It's just some random woman that turns up. Don't know who she is or who this guy is. But the camera lingers on them for a whole conversation, and then I was thinking perhaps they're going to become main players later on, but we don't see any more of them, so it's confusing. And around this time as well, we get 2 characters that are killed off. They've got, again, no connection to the main characters, to the frat brothers. So it's just really weird, and it just comes out of left field and really left me scratching my head as to who they were. Really, really strange. We're going to have to go into a spoiler now for this next point, I should say. So maybe don't watch this, maybe stop watching if you haven't seen the film. But in light of Detective Brackett being revealed as the killer at the end, I was unsure what he was trying to accomplish earlier. It seemed he was perhaps trying to frame Tommy for the murders at one point with the planted knife in his drawer. I'm not really sure. It was just not very clear, but I think that's what he was trying to do. But it really wasn't clear. I mean, maybe he was trying to pass the kills off as the work of this Michael Lindeberger guy. But then when his boss realised there was perhaps 2 killers, he had to abandon that and then frame Tommy. It really wasn't clear. I wasn't sure what was going on. Speaking of which, the scene with this Detective Brackett and his boss at a crime scene was strange in itself. They were looking at a female body, but I didn't know who the female body was supposed to belong to, because the only unaccounted for corpse at this point that was female was Courtney's, who was killed in the shower, but this body that we're seeing here wasn't in the shower, so I don't know who it was supposed to be. It's a bit weird, a bit confusing. In fact, the whole Michael Lindeberger storyline was just had a bit like a tacked on, needless feel, really. It was just kind of clouding the waters and making it even more confusing than it needed to be. So I think they should have just dropped that and not even bothered with it. But anyway, on a final bad point now, so our last bad point, on a final note of confusion, I wasn't sure who the man in the photograph was that Blair found with his wallet. It appeared to be some kind of a bald guy, but it certainly wasn't Michael Lindeberger, because he wasn't bald. So I don't know who it was. I guess it was supposed to be the guy that hit his head at the start. That would make sense, that they were chasing, but because he was wearing a hat, so I guess he could have been bald. But it was just so unclear. They should have made that obvious that it was supposed to be that guy from the start. But again, just a further confusing point. Okay, then, so the verdict then, and for a relatively unknown, low-budget slasher film, it was pretty watchable. It was a decent enough outing. There was some good acting in it for this kind of thing. You know, slashers don't generally have very good acting, especially low-budget ones, so it wasn't too bad. Of course, also it features Danielle Harris, who is a genre favourite, I should say. So you get to see her as well. You know, not a tiny role, but it's not a big role by any means. But you know, you get to see her for a short while. The references to other slasher films were quite good as well. That was a welcome addition, and the killer himself looked really good. But sadly, the whole affair is dragged down by this confusing nature that just runs throughout the whole thing. What on paper sounds like a really simple premise and easy to follow, with the just kind of playing on the template set by things like, I know what he did last summer. It sounds simple, but how could they make that confusing? But somehow they manage it, and it's just really hard to follow at times what's going on. Okay, so my final score then, I used to do like a star system here on my previous videos, but I don't really like that. It was a bit confusing, so I'm going to bring this in line with my website and just do an out of 10 score. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, so that's about average marks. If you want to see, I'll put a body count, by the way, in the description. Obviously that will include spoilers though, and feel free to check out my website for lots of other written reviews. So thanks for watching. On a final note, on this particular disc, by the way, it says extras here, you might have noticed that, but the only extra was a trailer for this film, and then some other trailers for different films not connected to this, so there wasn't very much in the way of extras. So I believe you will have to find, if you want this on DVD, sorry, I'm rambling here, speak slowly. If you're wanting to buy this on DVD, you will only be able to get it in this format though, because I don't think you'll be able to find it in the Devil's Night format. You'll probably have to get it like this in the German version. So sadly, it's not the best picture quality though, but it's better than nothing. All right, so 6 out of 10, about average marks. So yeah, thanks for watching and goodbye.